Hello and welcome. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo, and this is Fireworks, your preferred hard-talk interview program that brings you the news behind the news. Kaduna State is known to be the northern cosmopolitan city, bringing all comers together. But the politics is as complex as the faces that it accommodates. Since last year when we visited, when we tried to bring you an understanding of the farmers-herdsmen clashes amongst other issues, many waters have passed, but yet again we wade through. Perhaps we could bring for you bits and pieces of information that could help you tie the Kaduna story together. And I'll be doing that with the help of a son of the soil on today's edition. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned to Fireworks. Today, my guest wears many caps. He's the former National Legal Advisor to the People's Democratic Party. He's the current Legal Advisor to the people of the Middle Belt. He was a former director at the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. And now he says he's just a community leader, but he remains a national PDP chieftain. Barrister Mark Jacob, thank you for your time on Fireworks.
Thank you so much.
Let's start from the center. I've read quite a number of your statements, and you appear to be a vocal critic of the Nasir El-Rufai government. Let's hear firsthand some of your reservations about this government.
Well, I'm not a critic of the Nasir El-Rufai government. I'm rather an observer of one of the worst experiences a people could pass through in a democratic dispensation.
Worst, you say?
Yeah, one of the worst. I don't pray we ever get back to these days again. We've never gone through this. Even during the military, the state was not run this way. So I pray that this will be the last, and we never get to see this type of governance again. I am terribly sad today because Kaduna State has been taken several kilometers backwards, several years backwards in terms of harmony, in terms of integration, in terms of good governance and building bridges. We have seen the complete collapse of confidence building between the governed and the government. There is no nexus at all. Those in government appear to be in a different world. Those being governed appear to be down the drain, and nobody cares. So for me, it's a sad era, and like I said, I pray we never get to see this type of government again.
You know, so the most important amongst your reservations about this government is an ability to integrate the different peoples of Kaduna.
Certainly, absolutely.
But what about the reforms that this government is carrying out in terms of when we visit this federal civil service, the state civil service?
Yes.
Let's talk about the education reforms also. You know, the giant strides that this government is making in these areas, none impresses you?
I'm yet to see any giant strides besides the sacking of hard-working, innocent civil servants.
Teachers that couldn't pass primary 4 competency test.
Who has ever written that type of test? Ask and tell me. Find out anywhere in this country who has ever written any primary 4 competency test.
We saw the marked results of some of these tests, and
yeah,
we saw that
those were like 4 or 5.
Failed.
Those were like 4 or 5 marked scripts. If Nasir El-Rufai is bold enough, let him bring those scripts and give them to some other body to look at. If he is honest, if he is sincere, and he believes what he is doing is correct, let that exercise be given to the structured institutions provided or set up by law, who have the authority and the competence of setting up such exams.
But he raised child enrollment rates from the start of this administration, which was at 1.1 million to 2.1 million currently.
My sister, those are bogus figures. They are bogus figures that cannot be substantiated. I have been involved in administration. You don't get to sack 21,000 or 22,000 without preparing who will take charge of the schools in the interim. There was no preparation. You woke up one day and chased everybody out of the classes. And you had nobody to take over. From which state?
Currently scrutinizing 25,000. So
from where?
It wasn't a
These
matter
are lies.
of the wage bill, but more about ensuring competence.
I'm not even bothered about the wage bill.
More satisfactory.
Look, I am just telling you that this is practically not true. Where are the 25,000 people? They should have taken over by now if they were there. They don't exist. Nasru El-Rufai, as stated by Obasanjo, is a high-class classical liar who has no limit when it comes to telling lies. And he can tell lies about anything.
If you were an entrepreneur,
yes,
and you wanted to sack your staff en masse,
yes,
and you were going to recruit to replace them, would you do it in the open glare of your staff that were still at work?
If I would sack incompetent staff, which is normal and authorized, I will not sack them without making preparations for who will take over. Unless if I want my business to collapse. But naturally, when governors like Nasru El-Rufai want to take action, they don't care because their children are not there. They are not going to be affected. So they take those reckless decisions and shut down the institutions.
That's the concern. Are your own children or grandchildren, by the way, in Kaduna public schools?
My children...
Did they ever attend
Kaduna
public schools?
I did. My children did. LA Primary is number 5. That is where I schooled. And my children went to those primary schools here in Kaduna.
But the crop of parents,
let me tell you,
young enough to be your own children who are also raising children now in Kaduna.
Yes.
I've spoken to a number of them, and they don't have their children in public schools. Perhaps that's what is motivating this government to embark on these reforms.
I am not against reform. I am saying don't be reckless. Don't even be heartless.
Are you saying